So, welcome back. Coming up on the end here, looks like there's 3 of us left. So that's okay. We're going to continue onward and upward here. It's, you know, the class gets less intense as we move on, and we're kind of over the worst of it. So what I'll ask you guys that are here, did you get this portion completed? Did you get everything all the way to record page in your applications? If not, we can do it now.
I did not.
Okay, Bill, so I'm going to let you share.
All right, hold on. It's going to give me a minute.
Okay, you're good. Hi, Rebecca. I don't know if you meant to join us or not, but welcome either way. Sometimes people click on the Zoom and don't mean to. Hopefully she wants to be here.
Go ahead and start without me. I'll be with you in just a minute.
Okay.
So Ryan, I have a question.
Sure.
Till Bill comes back. Do all these Salesforce, when you work in a as a Salesforce admin, do all of them, all these orgs have classic and the lightning version, or only few of them, or it varies, or does it vary?
The question is, the question would be, do they have the availability of both, or do you mean do they use both?
Availability.
Availability, you will have both regardless. So
Okay.
it will be available, both classic and lightning will be available, and mobile for that matter, for everybody.
Okay.
Some orgs are lightning only at this point. Usually firms that start after lightning kind of got big are lightning firms. There are also firms that are using classic still because there is a gap between what you can do in classic and what you do in lightning still. So for whatever reason, they haven't been able to switch over. Those are usually older firms that have, you know, many years in the platform, and it usually has to do with the manual sharing functionality these days, where they want that manual share function, or you know, there's a number of other limitations from classic and lightning as well that might hem you up. Some organizations switch. You know, sales might be in lightning, marketing might be in classic. So you can have kind of a hybrid model depending on what you've got rocking.
Okay. Thank you.
Ryan, I'm going to have to bow out on the screen share on this one, so I apologize.
Sona, did you get this far? Did you get it all the way to record page?
I did.
Awesome. So it all worked?
Yes.
So now you have, if you want to go get a job, you can say, hey, here's an app I built. Check it out. Right? And they can run through it, and they can see that you know how to implement lightning, and they could literally see it. Plus, it is not a trailhead exercise. So you have not been walked through it with a step-by-step click path. Like you really created this thing on your own, which gives you way more context than trailhead. Trailhead is great. I recommend you get as many points as possible, get as many badges as possible. It's all great, but it's not as good as real production work. And I think what we've done in this class is about as close as you're going to get without actually doing production work. So that said, we had started talking about automation, didn't we?
Yes.
Yes.
Let me get out my pen here. So we talked about lead automation. Does anybody remember what our lead automation was?
The web to lead one?
Well, the first one, we're talking about lead automation. The first one we covered like the first day of this class. It's called conversion. How's conversion work?
So doesn't it convert into account contact? The lead gets converted into account contact and opportunities?
Yep, we convert with the action in Lightning with a button in Classic, and it becomes an account, a contact, and an op. And or, because you could potentially not create an opportunity if you wish. Which one, which record type will get created when you convert a lead for each one of those converted objects, which record type gets chosen. So if I convert a lead, which account record type will get generated upon conversion? So we currently, how many record types do we have on the account object?
2.
Yep. So we've got customer and we got competitor, right?
Yes.
So then which one of those will get created when we convert a lead?
The customer, right?
Well, how do you know? This is the concept of default record type. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
If you choose the default record type, so if we choose the customer as the default, then that's the one that will get created upon conversion. So that's the idea there, the default record type. Number 2 was web delete. How did that work?
Web to lead is when you're trying to bring leads from outside into the Salesforce org.
That's correct. So if you think about it, from a testing perspective, think about the actual act of doing it. So you go in and the first thing that it allows you to do is choose the fields that you want in your form, right?
Mm-hmm.
You pop them over. And then once you choose your fields, you've got your, once you've got your fields, man, my brain just absolutely turned off. I'm sorry. My head's been in an Excel sheet all day. Let me think. What were we talking about there? We're talking about, yeah. So we choose the fields in the form, and then that generates our form. We generate the HTML. Remember, we copied it.
Yep.
Select all, copy, pasted that in a notepad, and then we saved it as an HTML file on our desktop. And then that was displayed in kind of an ugly style because we would hand it off to our style person, our webmaster. But here it is, the web delete form. And we would create a lead. I created like Jerry Garcia or something. Here's Trey. And then we added this industry field when we created that. So then submit. So then the desired outcome here is that that lead will now exist in Salesforce. So that's as far as we got.
Mm-hmm.
This is on recently viewed. I'm going to need maybe today's. There he is. So the lead gets created. So think about it kind of process-wise. If we were talking about a lead process, the lead comes in and it starts in, say, an open status, right? What are we going to do next? So the lead comes in through the contact us page on our website. Then what? What would we like to do if they contact us? Think about what happens when you contact a company online through a website. What do they always do immediately as soon as you connect with them? Don't they always respond?
Mm-hmm.
So wouldn't it be nice if we could automatically respond when a lead gets created using the web to lead form? This is functionality called the lead auto response rule. And once again, all of this stuff that we're talking about is pretty obsolete at this point. We would use the process builder for most of this now, but it is legacy product. It still exists. It still works. And you might find it out there in the real world. So you're going to have to be able to manipulate it and work with it. So with web to lead, this is called the web to lead auto response rule. And it only works for web to lead. If you create this through the new button on the lead object, if you were to come here to leads and then hit new, it's not going to create an auto response rule. It's only going to be through the web to lead form. So here's how we set this up. I'm going to go to setup. And then I'm going to look in the quick find box for web to lead. Or I'm sorry, no, auto response, lead auto response. Lead auto response. Notice there's also a case auto response. It's the exact same functionality. It's just a different object. So if you're learning one, you're learning the other.
Okay.
So here is my little nomenclature that I use for automation. I write it out this way to keep myself sane, and it also helps me to remember for the test as well. So if I say a lead auto response, it's an if-then statement. It's always an if. So we say if, and this means one of two things. It's either criteria are met, which we're used to seeing this one. It's field, value, and operator. You know, think industry equals technology, for instance. That's criteria are met. That's a choice that you'll get upon creation. So if some criteria are met, or you can use the formula editor, and they call it formula evaluates to true is the other choice. So on the if side of our if-then statement, you're going to get two choices for criteria. One is either criteria are met, meaning the three boxes that we've seen throughout Salesforce, or the formula editor. So that is one choice you'll have to make. You might see a 2 out of 4 test question there on the if side of an auto response rule. Then we have our then side. Now for us, actually, we want every single lead to meet the criteria. I want to respond to every single lead that gets entered into Salesforce through the web to lead form. So what we're going to choose here is this formula evaluates to true. And when we create our web to lead form, auto response rule, we're going to use that as our criteria, that exactly. If you just type true in the formula box there, that means that every single record that comes through that web to lead functionality will meet the criteria, and they will get the actions associated with that criteria. So we're going to say, if the formula evaluates to true, then we're going to do 2 things. One, we're going to send what's called an email alert. This is my shorthand for an email alert. And anytime we create an email alert, we're going to need an email template. This is my shorthand for an email template. So we're going to craft an email template that will personalize based on the information they entered in the lead form. And then it's going to fire off our thanks for connecting email that we generated. That's the first thing it'll do. Who's that going to? Well, that's going to the lead email of the person that connected with us. Email. The second thing that we're going to do is we're going to send a second action. And this one, shorthand for this is create a task. So we're going to create a task, and it's going to be in completed status. Meaning that the task will show up in activity history related list. So the point will be that we can see that the lead was fired, because otherwise you wouldn't see the lead email that went out, that email alert. It would fire and you wouldn't know it. So we need to have a task as well as the email alert. And this is exactly what the auto response rule does. If you create a record through the web to lead form and the criteria are met on the if side, it will only do this. You can't control this in any way. It was an if with a couple of thens, and they were set in stone. This is how they used to do automation in Salesforce initially. It's kind of the legacy version. Very specific rules for very specific reasons. In this case, we want to respond through a web to lead connection. So let's go ahead and start. Anytime that we have an email template, we want to do that first. If you don't, it's okay. You can always go back and fix it. But if you can remember to do these first, it'll save you a little bit of problem. So I'm going to hide this here. I'm going to create my email template first. So I'm just going to come up here. I'm going to type in email. And we want the classic templates, because the Lightning templates, unless they updated at this last release, you are not allowed to, or you're not able to send email alerts with Lightning email templates yet. So we're going to need a classic template. But first, I'm going to create a folder. Folders are for controlling access to what users can do with email templates, documents, reports, and dashboards. So we're controlling whether or not users are able to even see what's in the folder in the first place. So I'm going to call this the GenWatt email templates folder. And then the public access that we're giving here, well, I usually only give read only. I don't usually let people change email templates. Sometimes I might if they really want me to, but I would rather everybody have a consistent messaging here. So there's our email templates. What's going to go in there? Well, nothing yet. These are all canned out of the box email templates that existed before we got here. And then down here, we have access to the folder. So is the folder accessible by all users, hidden from all users, or are we going to choose who can see it? And this is the security side here. And if they can see it, what are they going to be able to do with it? Can they read it or edit? So that's the idea there. I'm just going to make it accessible to everybody here to make it easy and save. So now I have my folder. Now I need to create my classic email template that's going to be set up for connecting with the lead that comes in through the web to lead form. So I'm going to go to new template here, and we're going to use text. And we're going to use lead fields up here in the very top value, because that's our object of interest. Of course, I can't find it now. There it is, lead fields. And then I'm going to kind of pop down here. So the way this works is this is the object, and then here are the fields in the object that you've chosen. And what'll show up down here is the merge code when we're ready. So this is how we do a merge template on an email template using this tool up here. I'm going to come down into the actual information portion, select available for use. That's our active checkbox. And then I'm going to call it the web to lead auto response email template. And then in the subject, I'll just say, thanks for connecting. And then down in the body, I might say, hey, lead first name. There's the code. You just copy it. After the space, paste it in, and then a comma. So, hey, Jerry, thanks for connecting in regards to the, oh, I have industry. Thanks for connecting. We are to serve our customers in the industry field. In the industry. Your sales executive info is as follows. Then I might have name, and then I'll come up here and we'll say owner full name, lead owner full name, copy, paste. And we might have phone. You get the idea, right?
Yep.
So we're creating a merge template that will go out every time one of these web delete forms gets submitted. And we could make this as pretty and flowery as we want, as long as you understand how this tool works. We've kind of met the requirement of this class. So I won't spend 100 hours making this thing perfect, but if you need a moment to catch up, feel free. Do you need a minute, or can we move on?
Ryan, I just have a quick question. Do you mind just telling, well, before the classic email template, there was something else you were doing. Could you just
Oh, I created a folder.
You created a folder first.
Yeah, so
Okay.
let me save this. I'll show you what I did. Okay, so I went to classic email templates here.
Okay.
And then up in the list view, this is a classic version of a list view up here.
Okay.
You'll see create new folder.
Okay.
And then I just created the Gen Watt sales email template folder.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So anytime you're doing automation, it's always these formulas. Do you like at the beginning you were saying if and the formula, the criteria that you use, is it
Yes.
every time automation comes in, you have to use that kind of formula?
Well, no, not every type of automation. We are looking at the earth. We're kind of, it's like looking back out into space, right? If you see a star burning, you're not looking at it now. You're looking at it millions of years ago, kind of.
Right.
So that when we look at automation from this perspective, we're looking at how Salesforce moved through time and added automation tools over time. So right now, these are very simplistic tools that met very specific requirements. As we move forward through automation, we're going to find that the newest tools give us a lot of autonomy as far as what we can do, not only with criteria, but also with actions.
Got it.
These are the simpler of them. So I'm going to start there. We'll run through all of the simple ones. And then once we clear those, we'll go ahead and we'll talk about the most updated, latest, and greatest.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So now that I have my email template, at that point, I can create my auto response rule. Lead auto response rules. So now think about my formula here. What did we say? We said if some criteria are met or formula evaluates to true, well, we're going to choose formula evaluates to true. That means that every record that comes in through the web to lead form meets the criteria. And our thens were what? We want to
send the email.
Email alert, which means we needed what? Email template that we already created. And then what was our second action? That was our task. We're creating a task in completed status, which means it's going to show up in the activity history related list that email went out. This is going to go to the lead email that was generated in the form. So using this formula, I can see everything I'm going to need to do here. So I'm going to select new. And the rule name, I'm going to call it lead auto response rule. Make sure you check this active checkbox or you'll do the 20-hour troubleshoot and not know why. Why isn't it working? It's this checkbox they hid from you over here. So make sure that's active. I'll hit save. Now we're going to go back into the rule. All we did was create the label there. So now we're going to go back into the rule by clicking on the word, and we're going to add what they call a rule entry. So you could have multiple rule entries. It's typically not necessary to create more than one rule. However, you may need to create an additional rule if you're importing leads and you choose to route them based on another criteria. So, long story short, you usually just need one rule. The sort order is going to be 1 because it's the first one. And then here is this portion. If some criteria are met or formula evaluates to true, see? It's saying, how would you like to define the criteria? Well, for us, we want every record to meet the criteria. So we're going to choose formula evaluates to true, and we'll type in true. It's just that easy. And then it says, where do you want it to come from? Well, I'll say it's coming from me, but we could also use what they call an org-wide email address, meaning sales@genwatt.com or something, but we'll just use our own. And then down here, we want our email template we just created. And there we go, just like that. And then save. So now I've got a rule It's active and ready to rock. How do I test it? Let's create a web delete auto response form here. So let's do James Brown. Industry of energy, for instance. So I'm creating the record. Now, since we have that web delete auto response in play, when we fire that off, there's my splash page from the form. And then we should be able to go back into our app here and see that lead is not only entered, but it has been responded to. See the task?
Mm-hmm.
This is the completed task portion of the activity. That was the action that was fired. And then the email should come to me. Hey, James, thanks for connecting. We're excited to serve our customers in the energy industry. Your sales executive's info is as follows. The phone number is empty because I don't have a phone number listed on my user detail record because I was the owner. But that's what's known as a web delete auto response rule. You want to try it?
Mm-hmm.
Here, you may as well share for the recording. There you go.
Oh, Brian left too.
Bill, yeah, Bill left. I don't know if he had.
Oh, Bill, yeah.
Chris isn't here today. Birdie must have needed a break.
Can you see my screen?
No, I see your name.
Oh,
Maybe looking at the wrong screen.
host disabled. Yeah, I think you have to enable it.
Every time. Here we go.
Yeah.
That should do it.
Can you see my screen now? No?
Nope.
All right. Okay, here we go. I think now you should be able to see it. Screen to share.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right. So you need to go to your email templates.
Oh, sorry, email. So there are steps. This is lengthy. Like first we create folder, then we create email template, then we create auto response rule.
Yep.
Okay.
And this will show you why the new tools are so much better as well.
I created this. Is this good? This Genwat email template?
Yep, that's perfect. So now see right hiding in the center of the screen there?
New template?
New template.
HTML?
Text.
Okay. This one was lead. Which one did you pick for that one, Ryan? Address?
Let's see. I said, well, first of all, choose available for use. Down in the bottom part, see where it says new template. So right there, that's just the tool to create the merge field. So click available for use, and then call it auto response rule email template.
Web to lead, right?
Well, I say call it thanks for connecting, because that's what's going to go out. This is going to be external, right? This is going to the potential client. Just say thanks for connecting. And then I said, hey, and then space. So go back to hey, get rid of the hey space. And then, all right, now the tool in the top, see the select field? Where it says lead field, select field, the section up, step 2. There you go. Make that the first name field. Copy. And then
Copy
paste
this.
that after hey. And
It
then
went to the second line. Is that okay?
I mean, it doesn't matter as long as you get the general idea, right?
Okay, yep.
And then we said, thanks for connecting. We are happy to support our customers and then you've got industry. So go up to where it says first name in the tool and choose industry. That one, there you go. So find the industry field. All right, copy and paste that after the industry, so space and then industry.
That's what I had, right?
We're happy to support our customers in the energy industry. So you'll need industry after that, right? So space and then industry. Space after the little curly bracket.
Oh, okay.
And then industry. Period. And that'll work for now. I mean, I had some other stuff in there.
Yeah, that's fine.
Go ahead and save. All right, so now you have that thing done. It's available for use. Very good. Now you got to create your web to lead auto response rule. So search auto, AUTO, and then lead auto response rules. And then you got to create the label for the rule itself. So new, and call it lead auto response rule. And then make sure you check the active checkbox. Save. All right, now you got to click on the word lead auto response rule below. You just created the label. Now we got to do the rule itself. So click right there. And then where it says rule entries, you'll see new hiding in the center of the screen. Select it. And we're going to call it the sort order of 1. And then step 2 is our criteria are met or formula evaluates to true. For this one, we want formula evaluates to true. You're going to type in true. This means that every record meets the criteria.
So Ryan, I have a question.
Sure.
What if you have random, like so many things on the list, like, let's say we were doing some kind of case auto response and you have a bunch of things pick list, and so you will probably create this one then? Criteria are met, this one, right? Probably.
Well, it would depend on the exact requirement, but usually you can use either. It just depends on which one you want to use for that particular situation.
So if you have 4 different values for the pick list, do you create one at a time, like sort order 1, sort order, like do you separate, or can you just put all these pick list values in under one?
If you're using a formula, you can usually do it all in one, but it's more confusing.
Okay.
Whereas if you do it with criteria are met, you've got field operator value and then that complex filter logic below.
Okay.
You can say 1 and 2 or 3.
Okay.
Formula evaluates to true, you have to write the whole formula out and it has to be correct. Criteria are met, you're creating different criteria and using and or. So, it just depends on which one you're more comfortable with or which one's easier for the particular requirement. But both can usually meet the requirement.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank
now,
you.
In this case, you can't do this with criteria are met.
Right, because we're just sending the email or,
And
right?
there is no criteria.
Right.
And there is no is created operator. So, all right, so go ahead and put your name and email below and then put your email template in the email template area.
Do I put the right address here?
Yeah, that's fine. That's just who it's going to come from. Whoa, go back.
Oh.
Yeah, scroll down a little bit. That is your email template, not the email, your email. So make sure that's your email template. So use the magnifying glass. There you go. Save. All right, now you got to test it. So go to your web to lead form and create a new lead.
whose name do I need to put? My name in this section?
Well, this is a customer, so just make somebody up.
Okay. Okay. Now we can test it, right? By going into the sales app.
Yeah, so go into your sales app, take a look at that lead, and you should have two things. One is going to be an email alert, should have gone to your email, your Gmail account. And you should also have a completed task for that lead. So go to that lead. And then
This one right here. I see it.
And then go in it. So click on that. You should have a completed task. See it?
Yes.
So that's an auto response. So it automated that for us. We don't have to mess with that. It's going to do it for us, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a web delete auto response. Any questions?
No. This was good.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good kind of what I would call first base for automation, because what you're going to find is that the rest of it is very, very similar.
Mm.
If you understand that, then this is going to be pretty easy to get as well. The next one we're going to discuss is, well, let's think about it. So the lead comes in, gets created through the web delete form, and we give him the auto response rule, which fires an email template back to that lead in a created task. Right?
Mm-hmm.
What else might be nice to do? So the question here is, who's going to own it?
Right.
Who's going to own this lead if it gets created through web delete? And the answer to that is going to be the admin. So as an admin, do you want to own records?
No.
So wouldn't it be nice if we could assign them? This is
Mm-hmm.
what's called a lead assignment rule. So lead assignment looks like this. So here's the formula. It says if some criteria are met or formula evaluates to true, right? One of those two choices. Then we're going to do another type of action called a field update. What field are we going to update? Well, we will update the owner field. That is the assignment. Then we're also going to create an email alert. And if we create an email alert, we need what? Email template.
Email template.
And that is going to go out to the new owner. This is a lead assignment rule.
Okay.
So what do we do first? We've got an email template. It's best to do that first. So I'm going to hop in here and we'll do our email template.
So
now,
when,
go ahead.
Ryan, so when these lead, the one we just did, web to lead automation, these leads are just coming in with the response. They're not assigned yet, right?
That's correct.
They're just a bunch of leads that you see there. I mean, email template response for the potential customers.
Yes.
But now we're going to actually do the automation, which will actually tell, okay, which admin gets to work on which leads, right?
Well, which salesperson?
Which salesperson get?
Because I don't want any of my admins owning records.
Okay. Salesperson. Okay.
Yeah. We want our sales team to own records. We don't want our administrators and developers owning records.
Okay.
They actually work the deals, right?
Right.
So, for this one, we need an email template, but this one's going internal, isn't it?
Right.
So for internal email templates, I mean, you can totally spend 100 hours making these beautiful, long, drawn-out email templates with every bit of information in them, the ones that are going internal. But what I find is if you do that, it gives people the ability to not log into the platform.
Mm-hmm.
I want them working in Salesforce. I don't want them working from an email I sent them. Now, if I put Salesforce in their email client, that's different. But in this case, I don't want them to have everything they need in the email. I want them to log in. So here's how I do this. I'll select available for use. We're going to call this the lead assignment rule, email template. And for this one, I'm just going to say, you have a new lead. And in the body, I'm just going to put what they call the detail link. So I'm going to find my lead object. And then I'm going to find the detail link. This is the link to that record in Salesforce. So now they'll get an email that's when they, first it's going to assign them with a field update on the owner field based on some criteria once we create the rule. Then it's going to fire them an email that says, you have a new lead with just this link that they can click on from their email client. It will take them right into the Salesforce platform in Lightning. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Plus, it's easier for me to create them. So once I have that one, I could test it, but it's just going to end up being a link. Once I have that, then I can do my assignment rule. I'm just going to search assignment here. And there's my lead assignment rules. Notice that they're also available for cases. So if you know what an assignment rule is for a lead, then by nature, you also know what assignment rule is for a case. It's just a different table, same functionality. So I'll do my lead assignment rule here. And this is where we're going to create our criteria. So I'm going to select new. I'm going to call it the lead assignment rule. Make sure it's active. This should all be pretty familiar, just like an auto response. Clicking in here, create a new rule entry, just like auto response. Sort order of one. And once again, we're going to say, well, actually this time we're going to do criteria met. Because let's say if the state equals Ohio, it's going to go to Joe. And what email template are we going to use? Well, the one we just created. Why is this not letting me do this? Did I not make it active? There. Lead assignment rule email template. So now if the state chose an equals Ohio, we're going to assign it to Joe. That's what we're saying. The field update is here. The email alert is here. So now we have a nice active rule. So now this isn't going to change anything that previously existed for us. It's only going to change the ones that are new after the active rule has been activated and upon save. So we might do Mike Gordon. I'll use my email so we can see the email template. State of Ohio is our criteria, so that should do our assignment. And submit. Splash page from the web delete form. Hop back in, we'll look at today's. From the list view on the lead object. And here we have Mike Gordon. Who owns it? Joe. Why?
Because anyone from Ohio, that was the criteria that you put there.
Criteria met, and what was the action that updated this field?
What's the action?
The if side, we had criteria are met and formula evaluates to true. On the then side, we had a field update and an email alert, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we did our field update, and then we should also see the email alert here. That was the thanks for connecting. Oh, I didn't create it. No, it doesn't create a task. So I should just have an email to Joe. And this stuff usually ends up in clutter for me. No. There's my auto response. I do not see the email alert that went out. Sometimes it takes a moment. We'll come back and see. But you should get a detail link to your email, unless I put in the wrong email address there, which I didn't. That was mine.
Mm-hmm.
But I know it worked because of the field update. So we'll see if I don't get a email alert here momentarily. Send receive. Nope. We'll wait and see. I should get one though, because that is my email address. But that is a lead assignment rule. Want to try that one?
Sure.
There you go.
What did we name this template folder?
Well, the folder, we don't need, we already have a folder. So you
Oh.
just got to create the template now.
Okay. So we can use the same folder over and over, right?
Yep.
This is the folder. Okay.
Yep. And then we control who has access to the folder.
Okay.
So this one, it's just available for use. Lead assignment rule, email template. And then subject is you have a new lead. And then in the body, just go up to the lead fields. So you're in contact fields right now. Go to lead fields and then find the detail link field. That's contacts. You need to be in the lead fields. And you're looking for detail link. Paste that in the body. And then save. There's your template. Now you can create your assignment rule. So in setup, search lead assignment rules. New and call it lead assignment rule.
Okay.
Click on the rule name and you'll create a rule entry. So lead assignment rule, and then under new, under rule entries, and call it sort order of 1. And then our criteria are met is going to be state equals Ohio. We could do it to a user or a queue, but assign it to Joe. You'll need to use the magnifying glass over there to find him.
Auto response rule email template.
The assignment is the one you want.
Oh.
And then you'll need to choose Joe as a user.
Lead assignment rule. Okay.
Yeah. And then you want Joe employee in there, not just Joe. Use a little magnifying glass. Choose Joe.
I have different people, so I'm just going to pick that.
Echo in there, yeah. Okay, save. All right, so there you go. You've got an active rule. So now go to your web to lead form on your desktop and create a new lead with the state equals Ohio.
Go to sales, right?
It'll be on your desktop.
Oh, okay.
The web to lead form.
Okay. So should I put echo on the first name?
No, that's going to be the owner of the record. This is going to be a customer. So whoever you want there.
State. Oh,
That's
no,
city.
no, sorry.
You're good. Company will be a required field.
So which one was this one?
It doesn't matter. Any of them.
That's it. Is that good? Can I just submit
I
it?
think so. I don't think city's required. You're good.
Okay.
So now, see what's going on here. It should take you to your splash page when it's done. Unless you didn't choose one. Go into the app and see if it's in there. Forwarding to retailer. Are you in the wrong org?
No.
No. Okay, go to today's leads. On the list view. See the list view? It says recently viewed.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
There you go. Yep.
Right here, Ohio.
Okay, so yeah, Ohio. Who owns it?
It's me.
Who should own it?
Echo.
Go to details.
Lead owner.
So something ain't right. Go back to your assignment rule.
So setup.
Mm-hmm. Assignment. Lead assignment rules. All right. Looks it's active. Oh, see the D&B company in the criteria? That's incorrect. So you want to edit that? See the little edit on the far left? There you go. You want the state province, not D&B company, but the lead state province.
Okay.
There you go. Save, try it again. All right, back to your desktop, create a new lead as if you were a customer on your website. That ought to do it. There it is. Looks like the top one.
No.
You sure you're not in the wrong org? Let's see. Oh, go to today's leads. You're in recently viewed. Go to today's. I think maybe it thought it was a dupe. Can you try a different name other than your own?
When I do the web to lead.
Yeah, do the web delete form again, because I think you had an active rule. Make sure you have a company in there. Okay. All right. See, it's not taking you to your splash page. It's weird. Let's go back into your org and see what happened there, if it created that one or not. Today's. All right, there's Echo.
Right there.
Okay, there you go. That one worked. See it?
Right.
So that's a assignment rule. See how these are kind of tedious?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yes.
Good times. So then we had so the first one we talked about was conversion. Then we had lead auto response. Then we had lead assignment. Next one I'm going to show you is what's called a validation rule. In this one, it says if some criteria are met or formula evaluates to true, then we're going to do an error message. Now, these are not just available on the lead. These are available on every object. The error message is going to show up either on the field itself or on the top of the page. It'll give you the choice. So we'll
Is this beginner admin stuff, Ryan? All
Yep.
this is just with the beginner, right?
Correct.
Okay.
So we got validation rule here. So we're saying if the criteria are met, then we're going to fire an error message and say, can't do that. You've probably seen that quite a bit on websites where you try to enter something into a field and it throws an error.
Mm-hmm.
And these are available on every object, not just the lead object.
Okay.
With these, I usually don't try to reinvent the wheel. They probably, for standard functionality, standard fields, they've pretty much all been created for me. I don't necessarily have to go and hash these out in my mind. The way I do that is I go to help and training, and I might say, show me in documentation validation rule examples. Now the syntax doesn't change on these, so you could actually use Google as well, but here's some we can work with. So let's do some account address validation rules here. So here's one that validates that the account billing zip postal code meets these two separate formats here. So what I could do is just copy this and then paste it into my criteria for the if side, right?
Mm-hmm.
If that's the validation rule I want. Or maybe I want something else. Let's do account validation rules. So here's one that validates the account number isn't blank. You see how there's just a million of these always already written?
Mm-hmm.
You just go in, you copy the if, and then pop it into the if side of the if then statement. Here's one that's an annual revenue range. So there's a bunch of these. One that I use quite a bit is opportunity close dates in the past that are still open. Let's see if it's in here. Close date must be a future date. So this ensures that users do not change the close date of an opportunity to a day in the past. Looks like this. Let me see if this, I've never used this one. Here's one that says close date cannot be prior to the current month. I just want to try that one. I've never tried it. So I would go to the close date field. I'm sorry, I'm going to the validation rule for opportunities here. You can do the same thing with leads. which is another form of automation. So we'll do object manager, opportunities and validation rules. Right there. And then new all the way in the top right-hand corner. We could call it close date must be in the past. And then there is our, I don't know if this is a real thing or not. Yeah, that doesn't exist. So we need a, we would need a date. So that would be the close date is less than today. The close date is less than today. And then I would probably say, and, which is an operator. So we're saying the close date is less than today and the stage, wait, let's say closed is false. So we're saying if the close date is less today, the close date is less than today and it isn't closed, right? Incorrect parameter. That's not right. We would need the, how do I normally do this? I do this every job that I work and I do, I forget how to write the thing. If the close date is less than today and, oh, you know what I probably need is the, and it's not closed. So we can say not function. So every time I try to do something new and different, this is what I end up doing. Not, and then insert field will be closed. So if the close date is less than a day and it isn't closed, that should do it. There we go. Then the error message would be that's the error message. And then you choose whether you want it on the top of the page or on the field. I usually choose on the field. Which field? The close date field. So we're saying if the close date is less than today and the opportunity isn't closed, then when you go to save, you should fire that error message on the field. Does that make sense? I know that was a long roundabout way there. Maybe if I save it and test it, it'll make more sense. So if I go to an opportunity and it's open, but the close date is in the past, if I then try to edit that opportunity and save, there's my validation rule. See it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So in a perfect world, you write one of these for every field.
Oh, wow.
I seldom do that in production. But what we're really doing here.
You mean object? Did you mean object or did you mean field? You do that for every field?
I'm saying in a perfect world, you would do it for every field.
Wow. Because
at that point, you're controlling what data is getting entered into the table. So you don't have your data is cleaner that way, right? You want certain naming conventions. You want data in the right way. Like you don't want Ohio and OH, and you want everything to be OH. So if they try to put in Ohio, it would throw an error. So that way, when you look at your reports and things, they have everything is OH. So we're really literally protecting those columns from bad data. That's validation rules. Now we have what we call standard data validation. That's data type. An email, you can't put an address in an email field. This is more granular. We're saying we want things in a particular format. And if you try to put it in the wrong format, we're going to throw an error message and show you the way we want it. Like I said, I don't normally do it for every field because it's not necessary. Like pick list fields, why? There'd be no neat reason to do it for pick list fields. But if you think about it from our plunge perspective, it is more restricted, isn't it? If everything has a validation rule.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of the thought process there.
Got it.
But it only happens on save. If something existed beforehand, before you created that validation rule, it's not going to change it. It'll wait until you edit to change it or to fire that rule. Questions there?
No, I think this is something definitely requires a lot of practice.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because one thing is I'm not used to writing all these formulas, or would you say those are formula or codes at the bottom, the one you
Well, nobody else is going to show you that but me.
Yeah.
That's just my way of looking at it, because usually when I'm doing these, I'm doing a lot of them.
Yeah.
I write them out just to keep my mind right. It's like, okay, what are my criteria? And I put that in place. Like, all right, now what are the actions that we're doing?
Right.
An email template. So that's just my way of organizing the information that I have to where I'm not doing the wrong thing, like putting the wrong email template on the wrong rule or something.
Yeah.
But in reality, these days, it really shouldn't be done this way. We should be using what they call the process builders for all of this, but this does exist in a lot of existing organizations. So you need to be able to untangle the shoestring, right? If you see this, you need to be able to undo it generally. So then that brings us to the next.
So another question I have is, Ryan, like, how do you get good at the validation rule? Because I don't feel comfortable with that at all. I think I voiced that concern before too at the previous classes that we had. How do you get better at doing validation rules? Since
you got to work in production.
No.
Yeah. I mean, you can go in, you can do trailhead exercises. I mean, you can create your own, like maybe you could take our org that we have, that your app that we created.
Yeah.
And apply some validation rules to it. That's probably the best use of your time there. Like go into that app in each object and look at some of the fields and be like, all right, what would it be nice to protect against?
Okay.
And then build validations into that. That'd probably be the best use of your time.
Okay. I'll do that as a homework assignment, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be really good. And then you can see that if it works, and if it doesn't work, you got to be able to troubleshoot it. And that's in reality what an admin does. What a developer does. Nobody's going to give you the answer. You're going to have to divine it yourself, right? Using the tools that we have. You know, that's why Trailhead fails miserably at preparing people for production, because it walks you through a very specific path on how to do something. Whereas if you do it in production, you never have that path.
Right.
It's, you got to use the tools that are available to meet the requirement in the best, most effective way. So then the next automation tools that came to be after the ones that, well, actually, you know what? Let's do the case side. Because we just did, let's see, make sure I have my pro account set up in here. Anyway, so for the next one, let's do this. Like a blank screen. My other computer, I had like a whiteboard because I had the pro version of the Epic Pen. Let's see, maybe a Word doc would help.
You know, I was working on the studying the assignment rule, all that this morning. And I'm like, okay, well, I wasn't clear on that. I try to do some stuff on Trailhead, but this is good. Today's class was good. Yeah, this helps
quite a bit.
Yeah.
So just a little review here. We have lead automation. They'll also hear it called lead management. Either way, if they say lead automation, lead management, they're talking about number one was conversion. So what happens with conversion? We convert the lead, it becomes what?
Account contact opportunity.
And which record type will it be?
Whichever one is on default.
The default record type chosen will be the one that is created upon conversion. And then number 2, we did what?
Create the template.
Or it was web to lead, right?
Yes, sorry, web to lead, yes.
How'd web to lead work?
These are leads that are outside and outside the Salesforce, and they get entered in the Salesforce.
Yeah, so think about how it gets created, because the test question is going to be, what can you do with web to lead? So first thing you do is you choose the fields that you want in the form.
Mm-hmm.
Then you choose the splash page link that you want to show up after the lead has been created. That kind of reroutes them back to your home page or whatever.
Right.
Then it generates the HTML. You take that, hand it off to your webmaster, they style it. And then you got your form, right?
Yes.
Number 3, what did we do?
So once that is done, then we did the lead automation rule.
Well, that was auto response. Well, I have assignment rule here, but next we did our auto response, right?
Yes, auto response.
How'd that work? Think about the formula. If
and the criteria.
If some criteria are met or formula evaluates to true, you get to choose there. Then what happens? We're going to send what?
Email template.
Email alert, which means we need an email template. And then how are we going to know that it fired?
With the task.
Create a task and completed status, which means it shows up in the activity history related list. Where are we sending the email alert to?
To the lead.
The lead email that was created in the web to lead form, right?
Yes.
Lead assignment rules, how did those work?
Lead assignment rules are basically once the leads are in the lead object, lead assignment rules basically allows leads to be assigned to XYZ salesperson.
Okay, so if some criteria are met or formula evaluates to true, right?
Right.
Or a criteria, if that criteria is met, what are the actions? How do we assign it?
With the, also again, with the validation rule, is it?
Well, it's a field update, right?
Field update, okay.
We're gonna update a field. Which field? The owner field, right? With a user or a queue.
Right.
And then we're also going to do what? Send an email alert with a merge template to the new owner. Then we had validation, right?
Yes.
How'd that work?
You create validation rule for every object.
Well,
or in a perfect word for every field.
Every field, right? And which you're not going to do. But
Yeah.
if some criteria are met or formula evaluates to true, what is our then? That was our error message, right?
Right.
So if the close date is in the past and it's open, fire the rule on the page or on the field. On top of the page.
It sends an error message, okay.
So if you just, from the testing perspective, if you just memorize these formulas for each one of these, you'll pass the exam. To get good at it, you're going to have to create rules.
Right.
What's a queue?
Queue, I look at it more as a folder where all the assignment may go.
No, so, well, that's true. So the queue owns the record, remember? So we can assign, we can use an assignment rule to assign a record, a queue, the owner of the record, which gives you what? If you own it, you get what?
Full ownership, full access.
So Joe, Sally, Bob, and Ryan are all part of the queue. I got a record up here. We'll just call it like the Jerry lead or whatever it is, like the Jerry Garcia lead. That owner, the queue will own the record, so they'll all have full access. What happens is Joe would go, since he has full, he can change ownership. Change ownership to himself, and now it's just his. Keep in mind, they do consider that automation on the lead and case side. So for the lead side, that's everything. The nice thing about this, though, is if you get rid of lead and say case, most of it is the same. There is no case conversion, but there is what they call email to case. And you've probably seen this before, where you create a support ticket via email, and that would create a case in Salesforce. Just know what email to case is. If you want to set it up, you can do it. It's not super hard. I'm not going to do it in this class because I don't want to burn an email and connecting it to a dev org, but it's not that difficult. But know that for case automation or case management, that they do have an email to case option or like a support ticket option. No conversion on the case side, but there is web to case. There are case assignment rules. There are case auto response rules. There are case validation rules, and there are case queues. All of that is exactly the same.
Okay.
See? We do have an extra one that we didn't discuss. This would be number 7 over here. This is what's called case escalation. Escalation rules. And this one's a little tricky. So it says if some criteria are met or formula evaluates to true, then, and what we're going to have up here is what they call an escalation action. I put it above the then line because we're going to determine how long before the case escalates. So the idea here is if a case gets created and let's say it goes 4 hours without getting read by anyone, then that's our escalation action here, 4 hours. So if a case gets created and it doesn't get looked at by anyone for 4 hours, we're going to do a field update on the owner field. And then we're going to send a number of email alerts. If we do an email alert, we need a email template. So we're going to do an email alert to the new owner, the old owner, and then up to like 7 other people. So escalation isn't really about getting anybody in trouble or ticking anybody off. Really, the way I look at it is kind of like our bottling application that we discussed at the very beginning of this class, where you got a couple of processes here, and one of them had the lowest capacity overall. Right? So this one's 500, this one's 50, this one's 200. We had 100 leads coming in here per hour, or 100 cases per hour. This one had a capacity for 200, it just goes whoosh. But then over here, you've got a bottleneck of 50, right? Because this one only has a capacity of 50. So what we can do here is instead of having this bottleneck, once this gets full at 50, we can drop this down, have a trapdoor fall, and I can have another resource, another person here with a capacity of 50. Those fall in, you got 50 plus 50. Now we got 100 coming through, right? That's what escalation does, is it allows us to keep things from falling through the cracks as far as cases are concerned by changing ownership to another resource and letting everybody know with email alerts. It's like, hey, this case hasn't been looked at. If there's one way to lose customers, one really good way to lose customers, it is not following up with issues. That's about the best way there is to lose a customer, is not following up when they have a problem. So we need to nip this in the bud, as we say in the States. So for escalation rules, we have an email alert here. So I need to create what?
Email template.
Email template. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Is this going internal or external?
This will be internal.
Internal. So I'm just going to use that detail link again, right? Classic email templates.
Which one is external?
External means it's going to the customer. Internal means it's going to me or in someone internally in the company.
Right. But I'm saying like if we have to send an email to the external person, which one do we choose? Is it still classic email template?
Oh, still classic in that case, but we have to write it out for them.
Okay. Oh yeah, the way we did it before.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to use the link at that point.
Okay.
Right? So we want cases on this one. Don't forget, or you'll mess up. Cases. And then we got the case ID, not the case ID, the detail link is what we're going to use. If I can find it. There it is. So available for use. We'll call it 4-hour case escalation email template. Subject is going to be a case has been escalated, and then I'm just going to drop that link in there. Boom. So I have my email template created. Now I can do my escalation rule. Oh, sorry, it's escalation rules, not case escalations. There we go. That makes sense. So I'll select new. We'll call this 4-hour case escalation. Make sure it's active or you won't be able to do it. And then save. I'll go into my escalation. This should all look really familiar, right? We're just creating rule entries again. 1. So then the $1 million question is, what is our criteria? Any thoughts?
Probably the formula evaluate to true.
Good, because we want every record to meet the criteria. I want every case to meet the criteria. So I'll choose true here. And then we've got business hours. If you remember, business hours are the hours that your support team is available.
Right.
Any settings? So
set
we can
business hours.
We can set them. We can use the ones specified on the case or ignore them. I would just use the ones on the case. Mm-hmm. And then we have specify how escalation times are met. So do we want it to fire when it's created, when the case is created, and disable after first modified, or based on the last modification time? Well, in this case, I want, when the case is created, I want the clock to start. But then if it's changed, I don't want to escalate it because somebody dealt with it, right? Mm-hmm. So I'll use this second radio button. Now it's going to ask me to create my escalation action, which is going to be the 4 hours. Mm-hmm. Page over 4. This is hours. I don't know why they said that. But if it's 4 hours without anybody looking at it, we're going to assign it to a user or a queue. So let's assign it to Joe. And we'll use our case escalation email template. And then I can also notify another user with the same template. And so then you can have up to 5, right? So you can have up to 5 emails that are not internal. And then we can also add the original case owner. So
you have 2 users there. So either one of them maybe take care of this escalation issue. Whoever gets to it first.
I'm notifying people at that point, right? So we're assigning it to Joe or queue. So we could have a case queue, but we'll just do Joe here. And then we're going to notify Ryan. And then we're also going to notify the original case owner.
Okay.
So that's 3. And then up to 5 more that are external folks that aren't even in Salesforce. Mm-hmm. And there we go. Mm. Validation rule there. No template found. How can that be? That's weird. I know I created it. Did I not save it? Let's go look.
Right there, you did.
Available. It's just named differently. It's being finicky. Action. 4 hours. Joe. Brian. Nothing. Something isn't right. Oh, I was in contact fields. No, it's case link. It's available for use. Copy. Not quite sure what the deal is here. Now I copied that directly.
Mm-hmm. When you click the magnifying glass, nothing was coming out?
Yeah, nothing happens.
Oh.
Not quite sure, but it should work. I don't know what's going on here. But that's the general idea. And we wouldn't be able to see it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
You basically have to wait 4 hours before it worked and see if it worked. You can't really test. Actually, I think they do have a case escalation monitor now. When I think about it, they do. So we could have, if we'd been able to create it, it would have worked. I'm not quite sure what I did here. It's active. Try this. Just start over. Sort order of 1. Formula evaluates to true. Use business hours. Modify and save. Now I want to create my escalation action. 4 hours. Ryan.
Still nothing.
I don't know what's going on. I'll work that when we come back on Thursday.
Okay.
I'll have it handled. I don't know what's going on there. At this point, I would probably just delete the whole rule and start over.
Okay.
Maybe even go back and redo the email. Maybe it's something I did on the email template. Maybe
Right.
in the right folder. I don't know. But what you would do at that point, once it's working, you can check the monitor and it will tell you when it's going to fire in the future. So you can actually see when it's going to happen.
So under the case escalation?
Yep. So it would say if a new case gets created, it starts the clock, and if nobody looks at it after 4 hours, it will escalate.
Okay.
If somebody does open it up, it will not escalate.
Okay.
So I think because there was only a couple of us in here today, this is probably a good place to stop.
Okay.
Next time we come in, we'll do simple workflow.
Yeah.
And then that's kind of the next step. I'll do a little demo of the beginning of simple workflow. So this was the next big leap in automation.
Mm-hmm.
Before we had all of our automation tools we could select the criteria, but as you can see, our thens were we were stuck with specific thens. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So what workflow rules allowed us to do is we said if some criteria are met or formula evaluates to true, Then we can choose up to 4 workflow actions. And you already know what these are, most of them. You've got an email alert. You could create a task. Email alert, create a task. You could do a field update and an outbound message in XML format. So these workflow actions then allowed us to say, all right, I can do an if with multiple thens, and I can do any of these 4 actions. So then we could choose the criteria and the actions. And this was a big leap forward, because before that, it would have required Apex code. You understand?
Yep.
So what they're doing is they're slowly making it to where we can use point and click declarative functionality and eliminate code while writing perfect code through the point and click declarative, and we don't have to worry about being stuck in a version. So this was a big leap forward, as I said. When we come back on Thursday, we will discuss simple workflow in depth. And then we'll also, so I would say we'll probably get through simple workflow, process builder, approvals, and then we'll probably have to do visual workflow the next Tuesday.
So Ryan, the whole thing we did today, the whole thing we did today, that's called workflow rules? No, right?
No, that would be called lead and case management, or lead and case automation.
Okay, lead and case management. So next week we'll do work, not next week, Thursday we're going to work on workflow rules.
Correct.
Okay.
So we'll do simple workflow and the process builder.
Okay.
Which is the newest tool. The process builder gives us all kinds of functionality. So we'll do that then.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you, Ryan.
All right. And I should be able to have this recording up here shortly. So thank you for joining me. And Rebecca, thanks for sticking around.
Hi, Ryan. This is Rebecca. I actually joined your class. This is my almost the first class that I attended. And I really like your teaching. And I have one question about Web to Lead and Web to Case. Is it okay to ask you now?
Sure, yeah, go ahead.
So when do we use Web to Lead and when do we use Web to Case? Is it like Web to Lead is when you get new clients that you add to your company, and Web to Case when a customer has issues and questions to ask?
That's exactly right. Here's what I would do, Rebecca, if I were you. I'm going to grab my YouTube account. I have every class recorded on YouTube. So I'll give you the link to my channel, and you can start with the very first class and work your way through them. There's like, I don't know, what are we on, 16 now?
I actually subscribed to your channel, and I was trying to
did you?
Check the previous videos since I missed those, but I'm not able to locate like which one is the first class, and I'm not able to find the order.
Yeah,
because
I'll give you the link to the first
1 month, some say 2 weeks.
They're by day. I have them all listed by day. So it's like day 1, day 2, day 3.
Okay. I didn't see the day 1. Maybe it was day 3 I was able to locate, but day 1 and 2 I missed.
I'll give you the link to 1.
Good analytics, I can then make.
Here you go. So I'll put that in chat for you.
Okay.
And that will help you quite a bit to catch up, because we've covered a ton of information. I mean, you're definitely more than welcome to come back for the live sessions for sure. Like, do not hesitate to come back. But definitely watch some of the early sessions. It'll really help you with understanding where we're at now.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Ryan. I'll talk to you on Thursday.
Thanks, everybody. See you then. Take care.
See you. Bye-bye.